Hey everyone, and welcome to our It's a Sin podcast special. I'm delighted to have actress Sarah McCardie, who plays the ruthless Irene Finch in It's a Sin, with me in the studios today, and we'll be speaking to her in just a moment. So let's get started. Hey Sarah, welcome to the show. How have you been?
Hi Tony, thanks very much for having me on. What a total joy to meet you as we were filming It's a Sin. It was really an experience and a half back in 2020. Little did we know this pandemic was happening then, did we? So it's a total joy to remember that time and to look at the total rightful success of this incredible drama. So I'm delighted to be here to talk to you about it.
I know, I could never have imagined that we'd be in this pandemic now. Do you know what? That film and day, I just remember it so vividly. It was just, everyone on set was just so passionate, vibrant, and it was just amazing. It was an amazing experience to see Gary Lewis as well as yourself and the other guys who were playing alongside as our relatives. Yeah, and as you say, what an amazing series to be part of. You star as Irene Finch in the groundbreaking TV series It's a Sin. Tell us how you got the part, and was you aware of your character's role within the series?
Excellent question. Irene Finch, how I got the part was my agent sent me the script and I had to send in a self-tape. What I would say is that as soon as I read this incredible piece of work, I mean, I got goosebumps. It was so moving and haunting and God, uplifting at the spirit of people coming together at that time. That character of Jill broke my heart. And yeah, hashtag be more Jill is so true. I just think that Russell T Davies has created something incredible here. It's the honesty and it's so raw, and it really is, it's such a moving journey to follow, really. And it's so true for so many people. So many people were affected with HIV and AIDS and continue to be, but the ignorance of what that was back then meant the treatment of people was horrendous, out of fear mainly, I think. So Irene Finch as a character is one of those people. The scenes that I am in, she is terrified of catching this from her dying brother. So she's brutal, absolutely brutal. But then I think a lot of people were. The irony of my self-tape for this show, by the way, was that I was doing a Christmas show at the time, 2 to 3 shows a day, and I had a really limited window where I could nail this self-tape. So 2 other cast members helped me to do it. One helped me to film, and one helped me to read opposite me as the part of the dad, who the incredible Gary Lewis ended up being our dad in this. But I had literally just gone from playing Prince Charming and making little kids and audiences laugh to having to do this really serious, hellish woman. That's the life of an actor.
I love that so much. The life of an actor, yeah, it's certainly up and down, isn't it, at times? Yeah, Jill Baxter, hashtag be more like Jill. Oh my God, that needs to start trending on Twitter right now. We all need a Jill in our lives, don't we? The character's such a breath of fresh air. I love the way she was so inquisitive of like the AIDS epidemic and how AIDS was spread, and she wanted more info when there wasn't much around, and she just wants to support her friends, help her friends, and just was an ally to the gay community. Again, we all need a Jill in our lives. I think everyone can speak for themselves when they say that. And I just love the way Russell T Davies incorporated Jill Baxter's character on the real life Jill Nolder, but she plays a mum in the series as well. So again, genius by Russell T Davies. He's just an amazing writer. Right, on to question 2. Your character is sister to Gregory Finch, Gloria, who passes away in episode 2. Back then, people didn't understand AIDS and how it transmitted, with scenes shown such as wearing of gloves and the scene which ourselves appeared in after Gloria's passing. Can you explain a bit about that episode, closing scene featuring yourself and your on-screen family?
Well, I sort of touched on it that people really didn't know or understand AIDS, and therefore there was a lot of fear about it. And I think the scene that you're asking me to talk about, which was after Gloria passed, that end scene, which is where I met you, Tony, the filming of the belongings of Gloria, is heartbreaking. The shame that some families felt to the point of actually erasing a person having existed is utterly heartbreaking and shameful, I think. I think the hardness shown by that Irene Finch is... I think you'll see that Gary's journey as a character as the dad, going from when he's in the flat where he's really hard with Jill and with Gregory, to the end of that episode 2 where he's a broken man sitting in front of the bonfire, whereas Irene just seems to want rid of all of it. She's as hard as nails. But it's really important that we show these characters, that we show these people existed through history and still do, because people need to be seen, and sometimes seeing the truth is an ugly thing. But I think what Russell T Davies captures so incredibly well is such a rounded view of both people who experienced this, the families of, the friends of, the employers of, the whole world surrounding all of it has been so well captured. But yeah, the closing scene of that episode 2 is grim, where you see the family, spoiler, you see the family basically destroying any memory that that person existed. Horrendous.
Totally agree. It was such a horrendous scene to be involved in, but again, educational, because I remember when I first got the brief, it didn't really explain what the scene was about. It just had a generalised direction. So it wasn't obviously until we got onto set and it kind of started making a bit more sense. Me being obviously a gay man and just seeing how harsh and how horrendous, as you say, the treatment was at this time. And it was just utterly heartbreaking seeing us burning his belongings and effectively, as you say, erasing his existence. I remember watching it back for the first time after filming it, and it just, it gives you a lump in your throat. And I just remember watching it thinking, oh God, this... Yeah, I even feel a bit emotional now talking about it, but it was just so powerful. There was no words in the scene. It was just all visual and just, yeah, it was just, there's no words. Couldn't even think of any words to describe it. It just moved me so much, and it was very emotional. So continuing on from that, if people have not watched It to Sin, it focuses on the AIDS epidemic of the 1980s. Personally, was you aware of the epidemic at the time? And had any of the series' content been an eye-opener to yourself in how people lived with the virus, but also how they were treated?
I'm 42 at the moment, and so was I aware of the AIDS epidemic? I remember the advert very clearly, the AIDS advert. And I was aware it was a terrible thing that killed people. But I think, I mean, I was only 4 or 5, something like that. But as I grew up and I learned more about it, it just filled me with horror. The number of people that were dying and had died and were still dying. Which sort of comes to your next question, like, do I feel the series has done what it's set out to do? What the series has done is monumental. It's educated and re-educated and reminded and honoured. It's done a lot of things. It's opened a whole Pandora's box on social attitudes towards homosexuality and everything surrounding all sexual preferences and the judgments that come with it. And just basically growing up in families where you're accepted, where you're not accepted, where you're forced to be something you don't want to be. I mean, you could write a PhD about this whole series. It's so full of social consciousness that it makes you think, it makes you feel, it makes you question yourself. So, what more could the creators, producers possibly have wanted than to have such a deep impact on the public at large?
God, totally. The series is so intricate, isn't it? You can just dissect it and discuss it. And again, I think, me personally, it's just educated and shown people the LGBT history, how far we've come, what we've learned, and just to love and respect each other. Love is love. Everyone's got their own sexual preferences, and that should be celebrated. With that in mind, do you feel It's a Sin has highlighted a part of history to the viewers, with reports in that Channel 4's had the highest ever viewings, with more than 6 million within its first week? There is also news that the uptake in HIV testing has risen since the programme first aired. Do you feel the series has done out what it's set to do?
So yeah, I think to sort of sum up my experience with It's a Sin, it was a joyful, joyful thing to be part of. An incredible cast and crew who were so welcoming and wonderful. But seeing the finished product has sent shivers down my spine, and I'm so full of pride that I am part of that. And such a joy to spend that time with David and with Gary and with Lydia, the other people, and yourself, of course, and the others who were there on the days that I was filming. But it was such a joyous, joyous thing to be part of. And I feel incredibly proud to have been part of it. Let's hope that people carry on watching it and that people are educated and that it resonates with everyone. I know it does with anybody who I've spoken to about the entire project. It has affected people on various different levels. So hooray for us being involved in it.
Oh, yay us. No, it was such an honour to be part of the series. A piece of TV history by Russell T Davies, and I'm not surprised it's a hit. He's just an amazing writer, and seeing the finished product as well, it was just start to finish. It was just an emotional roller coaster, and part of history that has just been recreated for a new generation, and I just hope it gets more popular and educates a lot more people. Right. Though the series focuses on the storytelling and the heartache, it also looks at the friendships, the fashions, and the music of the 1980s. We all love the 80s, whatever age. What are your memories of that decade, and do you have a favourite track or two as featured on It's a Sin?
Yeah, totally. The 80s, what a brilliant decade. When I was at university, we had an 80s night on a Wednesday that was called Decadance. That was at Warwick Uni. And we just danced to all the 80s tunes. And I love the soundtrack to It's a Sin. I love the fashion. I love everything about it. Kylie Minogue, hi. I just love everything about it. And I think the costumes as well in It's a Sin, they're absolutely fantastic. I think it captures so much joy and colour and crimped hair and eyeshadow and big hair and shoulder pads. I do absolutely love the soundtrack, but I think for very obvious reasons, I think one of my favourite moments, even though it made me cry, was Gloria, Gloria, I think they got your number, Gloria. Oh, that made me cry because it's such a kind of joyful song, but the placement of it within the show, I was bawling.
God, yeah. That was just, the placement of that song was just awfully brilliant. As you say, it was just after our scene that we filmed that was so heart-wrenching, so emotional, so... Oh, it was just... And as you say, it was like such an upbeat song, and it's full of soul and energy, and just to like have that silence effectively and the fire crackling, and then just to have the Gloria, Gloria, dun dun dun, Gloria was just, yeah, it was a ball moment. definitely made me feel like I was going to burst out crying, lump in my throat, everything. But yeah, 80s decade is one of my favourites. I wasn't personally alive in the 80s because I'm a 1990 child, but yeah, I just love everything about it. The music, the fashion, everything. Just love it. I'm even watching Dynasty now with my partner and just loving the campness of it and just the 80s-ness. So, we are living right now in precarious times, and more so in the industry you are in. How's all that been for you? Have you been able to do more work during these times? And what's next for you?
We are living in precarious times, you're quite correct. I've been an actor, I've been self-employed now for about 22 years. And one of the things that I've learned is you need to be multi-skilled to survive. I mean, how on earth are you meant to survive? There's such a low percentage of employment anyway. So what I've done over the years is I use my skill sets in other things as well. So I do a lot of work with writers as a dramaturg and script editing. I also direct. I also do some behavioural training. So what I've been doing during the pandemic is filming things that can be filmed from home. I did a feature. I say a feature, it's more like it was a play that was adapted for film. That was called Miraculous, and that was by Air Gaiety Theatre, where 3 actors basically filmed a screenplay from home, each of us in our individual homes. It was an incredible experience. I've also done a short, I directed a short for the National Theatre of Scotland called Running Out, where I was a dramaturg on that. I was very lucky to have that experience, which was fab, working with some brilliant actors. Done quite a lot of comedy sketches, and I've also directed a radio show called Queen of the Road. It was a 6-part series, and I wrote and directed for that. Right now, what I'm doing is I'm working for the BBC. I am a storyliner in a Scottish soap that's called River City, which is totally fabulous. I was in River City in 2008-9, and my character was called Sharon McLaren from Arran. That is a true story. So it's a total joy to be in a different area of the show where I'm now creating and writing storylines for characters and wonderful actors, especially during these challenging times.
That's amazing to hear. As you say, sometimes when you're actually editing things and behind the scenes rather than on the screen, it can be so much more interesting as well. I do writing and podcasting and do a lot of stuff behind the camera, but I also love production side of things and being on camera, and obviously just acting in different scenes as well interests me. But as you say, to survive, you've got to be multi-skilled now, I think, and effectively have your fingers in all different pies. And it just sounds like you've definitely got yourself sorted, and there's loads of different projects for you on the horizon. Fabulous.
I'll just wrap up just by saying thanks for having me on, Tony, and I admire you for getting your podcast up and running. And I'm just sending all the positivity in the world to anyone who's listening to this, going through difficult times, and we must come together, soldier on, and keep going. The only other thing that's left for me to say is la.
Oh, la, indeed. Oh, thank you so much, Sarah, for taking the time to join me on this podcast today. Yeah, it means so much, and it was just so much fun to talk about our time on It's a Sin. Wishing you all the best of luck for your future endeavours, and take care, and see you soon. Bye.